Today I'm going to be telling you exactly what you need to do to break through your weight loss plateau. Let's do it. Hello my honeys, I'm Emmie. If you're new to the channel, welcome. My name is Emmie. I'm a nutritionist and the creator of the Slim on Starch program, where you work with me as well as a mindset coach and a nutrition coach to lose weight on a plant-based diet. If you want to learn how to work with me, go to healthyhunnies.org or just click the link in the down bar. And let's begin. How to break a weight loss plateau with Healthy Hunnies. So let's make sure that we all understand how weight loss works. In order to be losing weight, you have to be eating less calories than you're burning. I have a whole other video that really goes over this in depth, so I highly recommend that you watch that video before you watch this one. I'll link it in the down bar so that you can understand really what I mean by this. But in order to lose weight, you do have to be in a calorie deficit. This does not mean that you have to count calories, and what I'm going to tell you today is going to allow you to not count calories and get into a deficit. But let me briefly explain this. So if you are burning this many calories, then the amount that you're eating has to be less than that. This little space right here, this is where weight loss happens. And this is also what we call a calorie deficit. So if you hear people saying calorie deficit, what they're referring to is this little space right here. That is the discrepancy between the amount of calories that you burn and the amount of calories that you eat. Now, it's very important that we understand what this means, the amount of calories that you burn, because usually people hear this and they think, well, I need to go to the gym if I want to burn calories. This is not true. The amount of calories that we burn in a day is not a direct reflection of how much exercise we do. In fact, the amount of exercise that we do accounts for only 5 to 10% of the amount of calories that we burn in a day. The amount of calories that we burn is actually largely determined by our body weight, which is a big factor to the weight loss plateau. The more that you weigh, the more calories you burn. So let's say that right now you weigh 300 pounds. You know, some people say, oh, I'm only 200. Some people say, oh, I'm only 180. And 300 might sound a little bit high for you. Don't let that say, well, this video doesn't apply to me, so I shouldn't watch this, I shouldn't listen to this because I'm not 300. I'm just using the number 300 because it's going to make this concept very easy to understand. So let's say that you weigh about 300 pounds, and this is how many calories you burn. You can eat a lot because you burn a lot of calories. Let's say that that's 3,000 calories a day that you burn. Awesome. So this is the amount of calories that you burn at 300 pounds. You start losing weight because you start cutting some things out. You cut out some soda, you cut out some ice cream, and now you have that little calorie deficit. Well, now you weigh 250 pounds. Guess what happens when you weigh 250 pounds? You're not burning all those calories anymore, because the amount of calories that you burn is largely determined by your body weight. Now you're only burning that many calories, and that calorie deficit that was there before, oh, well, that's not there anymore. And if that's not there anymore, no calorie deficit, what does that also mean? It means no weight loss, and specifically what we call the dreaded plateau. So the plateau is when the amount of calories that you burn is equal to the amount of calories that you eat. So what do we need to do here? We need to get you into a calorie deficit again. We need to make it so that the amount of calories that you're eating is now a little bit lower. And I am not a proponent of counting calories. I don't encourage counting calories. The people that watch my videos, if you're a client of mine, you know you absolutely do not count calories. We teach you methods outside of counting calories so that you can lose weight. So in order to get into this calorie deficit, what I'm not going to tell you to do is to reduce your calorie intake by 200 calories or 400 calories or 500 calories or this, that, or the other. Instead, let's look at this a little bit differently. How can we get you into a calorie deficit not through counting calories, but through behavioral changes? So instead of looking at this little section right here as a calorie deficit, it is a calorie deficit, but looking at it that way is probably not going to be helpful to you, because counting calories really doesn't work. When people count calories, what happens is they eat teeny tiny portions because they want to make sure that they're not eating too many calories. Then they get super, super hungry and they end up binging out because they're in this state of starvation because they've been eating so little calories. They say, screw this, I am so hungry, I'm not losing weight, just give me all the food. And then they end up eating whatever they want. So I'm not a proponent of counting calories. So instead of saying, oh, I need to get myself into a calorie deficit, what we want to talk about this in terms of is behavioral changes. So instead of saying, what do I need to do to get myself into a calorie deficit, I want you to say, what behavioral changes can I make to create this little gap right here? And this is how we're going to do it. Let's look at specifically what is going on in this bar right here. What are you eating? I accidentally just erased my changes. What are you eating? What is going on here? So let's look at this. And let's say you're eating the following. And again, I'm going to use an extreme example, but the principle here can apply to everybody. So you may not have been 300 pounds when I made this example here. You may be 180 pounds, but what you could still get from that was, okay, now I'm realizing that I used to be 200 pounds, now I'm 180 pounds, so I'm not in that calorie deficit anymore. So it doesn't matter the example that I'm using, it's just to help you understand the concept. The concept will apply to you no matter what your body weight is or what your diet is. So I'm going to put a diet here just to make it an extreme example so that you can understand the concept. So let's say that this person's diet consists of the following. Let's say it consists of ice cream, pizza, cookies, and then good stuff. I've written good stuff because we're going to dig into that a little bit, but let's say they're still having ice cream, cookies, and pizza. What they're going to do is they're going to say, okay, what behavioral changes can I make here? Let's look at the ice cream every night. Is having the ice cream every night, is that something that I want to keep doing, or is that a behavioral change that I can make? And instead of saying I'm going to cut out the ice cream, what behavioral change can I make with ice cream that's going to put me into a calorie deficit? So instead of saying I'm getting rid of the ice cream, I want you to say, what can I replace the ice cream with? I'm going to keep the habit there, but I'm going to replace the substance. I'm not going to go to the store and buy ice cream anymore. I'm going to go to the store and I'm going to buy frozen fruit. Now, every night when I sit down after dinner, I'm not going to take out the bowl of ice cream. My behavioral change is that I'm going to make some frozen fruit. Now, they've cut that out. They've made that behavioral change. And now, they're back in a calorie deficit. Awesome. So they're back in a calorie deficit and they're losing weight. But remember, what happens when you lose weight? Well, the amount of calories that you burn, that's going to go down as well. So now, you're burning this many calories. And wouldn't you know that little trick, that's not going to do you good anymore. So you're going to keep doing that little trick, but guess what? You're at a plateau again. Okay, well, now let's look at the pizza. What behavioral change can I make with the pizza? Well, right now it's a cheese pizza. So I'm going to switch this over to vegan cheese. And guess what happens when you switch it over to vegan cheese? Now you're eating less calories. Awesome. So now we have that little calorie deficit and weight loss is going to happen. Weight loss happens, and we know what happens when weight loss happens. The amount of calories that you burn goes down as well. Oh my goodness. Wouldn't you know, we've hit an equilibrium again. So now that trick isn't going to get you to lose any more weight. It got you to another equilibrium. So we got to get rid of that because we're at an equilibrium again. Okay, now let's look at the cookies. What can we do with the cookies? Okay, instead of the cookies, I'm going to replace this with my snack of veggies and hummus. That's a really good one. Veggies and hummus instead of the cookies. That's a great one. Okay, so that's gotten me into another calorie deficit. Perfect. That little calorie deficit, it's going to cause weight loss. Well, what happens when you lose weight? We know that the amount of calories that you burn goes down again, because if you're at a lower body weight, then the amount of calories that you burn is lower. So that's not going to make you lose any more weight again. So now we're at this point that a lot of people get to, and they say, oh my goodness, Emmie, there's nothing left for me to do. I've cut out the pizza, I've cut out the cookies, I've cut out the ice cream, I've done everything, and everything that I was doing was working, and it's not working anymore. My metabolism is broken, this isn't gonna work, I'm gonna be at this weight forever, there's nothing left for me to do, I'm on such low calories, I don't know what I can do here. And it's this game where I cut something out, I lose weight, and then I get stuck again. And then I cut something out and I lose weight and I get stuck again. And then I cut something out and I lose weight and I get stuck again. And this is what the plateau is. The plateau is that what you were doing beforehand was getting you into a calorie deficit because you were burning more calories at that time when you were at a higher body weight. But now that you're at a lower body weight, the amount of calories that you burn is lower, meaning the amount of food that you have to eat is lower as well. And they say, all I have left is good stuff. What I was doing before isn't working anymore. It's not that what you were doing before doesn't work. It's that the amount of calories that you burn is now lower because you're at a lower body weight. This is when weight loss starts to slow down as well. This is why you experience such dramatic weight loss at the beginning, because let's say that you're eating this way and you're at the beginning of your journey. If you're at the beginning of the journey, the amount of calories that you burn is huge. So there's a huge calorie deficit. And that's why people lose weight like crazy at the beginning of my program, for example, because they're eating such a great diet. They have a lot of weight to lose. So the calorie deficit is so big and their diet is such an improvement from what they were doing beforehand. So what do we do at this point? You've made all of these behavioral changes and now you're at this point where you're like, I have nothing left to give. I don't know what to do at this point. Well, we can make replacements here that aren't the huge behavioral changes that you've made, but they're replacements to the great diet that you're already eating. Let me explain. So to recap, the first thing that we did in order to break through these plateaus was to make behavioral changes. That's the low-hanging fruit. That's the ice cream, the cookies, the pizza. So you had habits. You had an ice cream habit, you had a cookies habit, you had a pizza habit, and now you've replaced those with new habits. The ice cream habit is now a frozen fruit habit, the cookies habit is now a veggies and hummus habit, and the pizza habit is now a vegan pizza habit. So now what we have to do is diet replacements. And diet replacements does not mean that you're going to be taking a meal replacement or a shake or anything crazy like that. It's going to be very simple and very straightforward. And let me show you exactly how we do it. So what does diet replacements actually mean? So what you're going to do here is write down what you're eating during the day. And again, I'm going to use an extreme example just so that you can understand the concept, but you can do this no matter what your diet is. So let's say for breakfast you are having cereal and milk, and then you're going to draw a little box underneath it. And then leave a little bit of space underneath what you've written for your first meal because we're going to do something with that. Then you're going to write what you have for lunch. So let's say this person is having a turkey sandwich. And I know a lot of people watching this channel do not eat turkey sandwiches because this is a whole food plant-based. We don't eat any animal products here. But again, I'm doing this just so you have an extreme example and can understand the concept. And then let's say for dinner, this person is eating steak and potatoes. So the first thing that we did to break through the plateau was we looked at behavioral changes for what I would call the extras. So ice cream, cookies, pizza, that's kind of like extra things on top of what they're eating here. Here, they say, I can't cut anything else out. I can't cut out breakfast. I can't cut out lunch. I can't cut out dinner and starve myself. So instead, we're gonna look at what you're currently having, and with each thing that you're eating, we're gonna make a replacement. And the replacement is going to be a lower calorie replacement. So I'm not making you eat a smaller volume of food. I'm not making you cut anything out. All I'm making you do is keep the volume of food that you have, but replace it with something that's lower calorie density. So the cereal and milk, for example, let's say that that is a dairy milk. What I would do here is I would underline what I know can be replaced with something that's low calorie, and then we're going to come back and visit it. So the first thing that you want to do is underline the thing that you know can be replaced with something that's lower calorie. Milk, that can be replaced. So you've written out everything that you've eaten and now you're underlining. Turkey sandwich. Well, I think I can replace the turkey. That's pretty high calorie, high in sodium, high in fat, high in cholesterol. That's not good for me. Steak and potatoes. Well, I think I can replace the steak, and that's probably the thing that has to be replaced. So when you're going through your list, underline the things that you know you can replace with something else, and also underline the things that are very high in calories. So the milk, the turkey, and the steak. I gotta think of replacements for all of these. So the milk, I'm gonna replace that with a almond milk. Almond milk is only 30 calories per cup. All right, awesome. I'm not starving myself here, but now that meal went from being, let's say, 400 calories. Now, with the almond milk, it's maybe 250 calories. Well, awesome. There's a 100-calorie deficit right there. All right, the turkey sandwich. What replacement can I make here? I'm going to replace the turkey. And what if I replace it with veggies and mustard? Well, with the turkey, if you did turkey and mayo and cheese, that may have been, 700 calories. And now that it's a veggies and mustard sandwich, it might be only 300 calories. So there's a 400-calorie deficit right there. You're not eating a smaller volume of food. You're just replacing it with the same volume of something that's lower calorie. And then let's look at the steak and potatoes. Well, steak, potatoes, we're definitely going to keep the potatoes. The potatoes could actually be the star of the show. What if I replace the steak with veggies? So I had veggies and potatoes for dinner, which is an absolutely valid meal to have. That is not missing anything that you need. Oh my goodness, going from steak to veggies, that could go from a 900-calorie meal to that could be, a 400-calorie meal. So now let's look here. I haven't starved myself. All I've done is made replacements with what it is that I'm currently eating. And here I saved 150 calories. Here I saved 400 calories. And here I saved 500 calories. Meaning that through the course of the day, I saved over 1,000 calories. And again, I'm not encouraging you to count calories. Instead, I'm encouraging you to write out what you're eating, pull out the things that you know are very rich and very high in calories, and make replacements with healthier options. And when you do that, you're not starving yourself, but you're creating, in this case, an over 1,000 calorie deficit just by making these little replacements. If you don't know what replacements to make, let's go through that. Let me give you some examples and some criteria for the types of replacements you should be making. We're going to call this the replacement checklist. First and foremost, it has to be plant-based. So when you're making a replacement, do not replace with something that's an animal product. Always replace with something that's plant-based. Plant-based foods are much lower in calories. The second thing when you're making a replacement is that you don't want it to be processed. So processed foods are naturally higher in calories. They've removed the water, and because of that, the calorie density shoots up. A lot of plant-based processed foods are really just junk foods that have the word vegans slapped on them for marketing purposes. And it's great that there aren't any animals harmed and they're great for special occasions, but for weight loss, not going to be your best friend. So make sure that the replacement that you're making is also unprocessed. And then the third thing that you want to make sure that you do is make sure that it's the same volume of food. So if you're making a replacement, don't say, oh, this only has this many calories in it, so it's so low in calories that I can eat 500 pounds of it. That defeats the whole purpose. So make sure it's the same volume. So that's it. Today's question of the day is, what state do you live in? If you live in the United States, tell me what state you live in. If you live outside of the United States, tell me what country you live in. And I can't wait to find out. I love you, honeys, and I'll see you in my next video.